Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on a really unique and incredibly exciting journey. We're diving into the unpredictable world of golf. But look, this isn't your typical polished broadcast from, a PGA tournament.
Not at all.
Our source material today is this fascinating transcript from a YouTube video. It was simply titled Unfathomable Golf in OC by someone named Hiroki Ino.
Right.
And let me tell you, unfathomable.
Yeah.
Well, it barely scratches the surface of what we're about to get into here.
It really doesn't.
So we're setting the scene in beautiful Santa Ana, California. It's apparently a perfect 68 degrees, lovely weather. Seemed like it was going to be great for our golfer, Hiroki.
Ideal conditions, you'd think.
Exactly. And our mission today is to unpack, well, everything. The absolute dizzying highs, the surprising and sometimes really frustrating lows.
Yeah, the full roller coaster.
Totally. And those moments that the commentator just keeps calling unfreaking unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
We're going deep into Hiroki Ino's game, but all through the lens of this incredibly energetic, super candid, often hilarious commentator.
And that commentator is key, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We're exploring not just the golf mechanics, but the whole story, the narrative that unfolds around every single swing, every putt, every painful mistake.
Yeah.
What you'll hear isn't just about the score. It's a story of skill, pressure, and just the raw human drama of this crazy sport.
And what's so compelling about using this source, this YouTube transcript, is how raw it is.
Yeah.
It gives us this almost visceral look at that interplay between the golfer's skill, right?
Mhm.
The course itself, which is always a challenge,
Wait.
and that human element, the mental side, the pressure, how fragile it can all be in sports.
Totally.
And through this commentary, which, like you said, is almost a performance in itself,
It really is.
we see how every single shot, whether it's amazing or a total disaster, it tells a story. And maybe even more important, we see how that immediate, really emotional narration from the commentator shapes how we understand Hiroki's performance, how we connect with it.
Right. It's like observation and narration aren't separate. They're tangled up, influencing how we see the whole thing.
Exactly. It's a fascinating look at how stories get made around sports.
Okay, so let's jump right in with a bang because Hiroki starts this round with some shots that are just spectacular, jaw-dropping. They absolutely earn that unfathomable title right away.
Oh, yeah.
You can feel the awe, the excitement from the commentator from the very first moments.
Yeah.
What grabbed you about his opening?
Well, it wasn't just the power, though that was obviously there. It was the statement it made.
Oh, okay.
And that first drive, it immediately showed what Hiroki was capable of, that peak performance level.
Right,
And when the commentator yells unfreaking unbelievable over and over,
right.
that's not just hype. It feels like a genuine reaction to something truly exceptional.
Totally genuine.
And it sets this tone psychologically, right, for Hiroki, maybe for the commentator, for us listening. It hints at those moments, those flow state moments where everything just clicks.
Unfreaking unbelievable.
Yeah.
He repeats it like 3 or 4 times. You can almost hear the stunned silence before the excitement kicks in. It really hammers home the power, the accuracy. And it wasn't just a bomb, right? It was precise. The commentator even corrects himself or someone. He says, 289 at first, then insists, don't diminish them 300.
We're getting even the full 300.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A full 300-yard drive. And he describes it as so straight and way out there. It just paints this picture of a ball launched perfectly, like a laser beam. Everyone's just stunned.
Yeah, a perfect start.
And what's maybe even more impressive is the follow-up, because it wasn't just one lucky shot.
No.
After that monster drive, his second shot was beautiful. Lands just off to the right of the green.
Setting himself up nicely.
Totally. Then he chips it up, and the commentator says it almost went in the hole front eagle, which, an eagle is 2 under par on a hole. Super rare. He ends up with a birdie putt instead, which is still fantastic, 1 under par.
Right. But to even be flirting with an eagle on the first hole.
It just sets such a high bar immediately. It tells you, okay, we're watching someone with some serious game.
Absolutely. That opening sequence, getting that close to an eagle, it signals his skill level instantly. It's not just power, like you said. It's that mixed strength, control, precision. It puts him in a position to score aggressively right away.
Yeah.
And that kind of start. It can boost a golfer's confidence massively, or maybe it puts pressure on him to keep that level up.
Good point. Pressure right from the start.
It shows he can execute and really press his advantage on the course.
And his genius wasn't just about hitting it hard. He showed some incredible strategic thinking, creative play, like take the second hole. That was a masterclass in reading the course.
The tree shot.
Yeah. He hits an 8-iron over the tree. Sounds crazy, right?
Right.
Especially when the commentator points out the pin is actually hidden by the branches on the tree.
You can barely see the target.
Exactly. But somehow he manages to draw it down onto the green. Leaves himself like a 20, 30-foot birdie putt.
That's control. A draw shot curves gently, right, from right to left for a righty.
Yep. Highly controlled. That's not just whacking a ball. That's understanding geometry, spin, wind, all in real time, under pressure.
That shot specifically, going over the tree, drawing it in, that's advanced stuff. It shows incredible control over the ball's flight, the spin.
Yeah.
It's a calculated risk for sure. You need precise club face control, but also you need to know how the ball's going to react. The wind, the green.
Totally.
It shows he can visualize it, right?
Yeah.
See the path where maybe others just see branches and then pull it off. It speaks volumes about his adaptability, his imagination out there, turning a hazard into a route to the green.
It's really something. But it makes you wonder, too, when a player takes risks like that, aiming over trees or, like we see later, aiming at a palm tree, does a commentator's excitement sometimes kind of gloss over how risky it actually is?
That's a really interesting question, the perception versus the reality of the risk.
Because then we get to the 5-iron masterpiece on hole 5, which is just pure art.
Oh, yeah.
Hiroki uses what the commentator calls his 190 club, so presumably his 5-iron.
Right, the distance he expects.
And he aims it at a prominent palm tree.
Yeah.
Now, normally you'd think, avoid the palm tree.
Hazard?
But he uses it. It's part of the plan.
Okay, how so?
Well, the description of the ball's path is amazing. It's like a pinball machine. It hit the slope, starts to roll towards the bridge, then it bounces off the hill, and finally, it's rolling past the palm tree into perfect position.
Wow. Using the terrain.
Exactly. The commentator nails it, saying, most people take 2 shots to get there, but Hiroki does it in 1 shot with a 5-iron. That's incredible efficiency.
Yeah.
It shows skill, obviously, but also this deep knowledge of the course, how to use the bumps and slopes to his advantage.
That is fascinating about the risk and the commentator's view. What's truly remarkable about that whole 5 shot is how deliberate it seems. Playful, almost. Using the course's shape, hitting a slope, letting the ball bounce and roll. That's sophisticated golf. It's not just brute force to the target. It's leveraging the environment.
Right.
It shows a deep grasp of ball physics, course design, turning obstacles into helpers. He's thinking steps ahead, like chess.
Like chess on grass.
Exactly. And it really confirms the commentator isn't just seeing a shot, he's recognizing the genius behind it. He gets what Hiroki's doing.
And just to add this little human touch, while he's walking to that perfectly placed ball on hole 5, the commentator mentions Hiroki is feeding ducks and birdseed.
Ah, really?
Yeah, it's just this wonderful little detail. Shows a moment of calm, maybe even whimsy, right in the middle of this intense round.
That does humanize him. It's not just a golf machine.
Exactly. Makes you feel like you're getting to know the guy a bit.
Yeah.
But the brilliance wasn't only in those flashy highlight moments. It was also in the consistency, the power and accuracy with his irons throughout the round.
The workhorse shots.
Like the 10th tee shot. A 7-iron, commentator says, 170 or so. He's got a tailwind helping him.
Okay.
And the result is a beautiful shot. Puts a little draw on the green, safely past the sand trap. That kind of consistency, just putting the ball where it needs to be, hole after hole. That's the mark of a really skilled player.
It really is. Hitting one great shot is one thing, but doing it consistently, especially with irons, factoring in things like a tailwind, that's crucial.
Yeah.
Being able to control that draw, land it on the green, avoid trouble. It says a lot about his swing mechanics, his ability to shape shots.
Right.
It shows those amazing shots aren't just flukes. They come from a solid, adaptable game. It's that repeatable mastery that separates the good players from the truly great ones.
Then there's the 11th tee drive. The commentator notes the speed. It went pretty fast. Even says pretty doggone fast.
Doggone fast.
Yeah. And Hiroki holds his pose after the swing. Just a simple, nice shot from the commentator. It's that mix again. Power, but controlled.
That held pose often signifies good balance and a completed swing. Confidence.
Makes sense. And then on what's apparently the hardest par 4 on the course.
Okay, the big test.
It has an elevated tee, meaning you're hitting down towards the fairway. Hiroki's drive, once again, unbelievable.
He steps up again.
Yeah, goes up, going down, somehow lands on the green. He's putting for birdie on the hardest hole.
Wow. So he's not just hitting hard, he's managing the course layout, the elevation change.
Exactly. He's conquering the course, not just hitting the ball.
Mm.
And later, just to show it's not fading, he hits another drive 285 yards. The power is consistent.
What's compelling there is just how repetitive the quality is. It's not one amazing shot, then okay ones. It's a pattern.
Right.
Sustained excellence, even on tough holes like that elevated par 4, that up going down description landing on the green, that shows real control over trajectory and landing, dealing with tricky terrain.
Yeah.
This steady power and accuracy across different holes, different conditions. It points to a really refined technique and probably strong mental composure, too. It's sustained high performance, not just flashes of brilliance. It proves his talent isn't just luck.
And even when things get tough, like facing a stiff headwind, the commentator mentions 5 to 7 knots gusting to 10 on a par 5.
Okay, that's significant wind.
Right. Hiroki hits a provisional shot that's still nice and smooth. The commentator even says, same guy, like reminding us it's still Hiroki hitting these good shots even in trouble. And it goes way out there. Now, a provisional shot means he probably thought his first one was lost or out of bounds.
Right. You play a second ball just in case, saves time. It's a penalty stroke usually involved if you use it.
It's exactly. But even that provisional demonstrates skill under tough conditions.
Yeah.
He's still performing well, despite the wind and the pressure of potentially losing a ball.
And that ability to perform in bad conditions, like a strong headwind, that just underlines his adaptability again. His skills aren't fragile, They hold up under pressure.
Yeah.
Hitting a good provisional, even if it follows a bad shot, still shows impressive control and resilience. It's maybe less about failure and more about a strategic response to a bad situation, but still executed well.
Right.
These moments, even with provisionals and penalties, they still showcase that control. It's where you see the difference between just hitting a good shot and really working with the environment, even when it's working against you.
Okay, so those highs were incredibly high. Unfathomable, even.
Yeah.
But golf. Well, golf always bites back, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It's famously unforgiving.
And even for someone with Hiroki's obvious talent, there were definitely moments where the difficulty of the game just became painfully clear, almost comically clear sometimes.
It's that side of the coin.
Exactly. So let's shift now to those moments of challenge. The relatable struggles, the unexpected setbacks that honestly any golfer faces, no matter how good they are.
Yeah, the parts that make you wince in recognition.
Totally. And the most glaring struggles, it seems, came on the putting green. We're calling this section the putting puzzles.
Ah, the great equalizer.
Pretty much. Early on, third green, we hear about second putty off to the left. And the commentator's reaction is just blunt, terrible. You could just feel the cringe. The commentator even says, "Ooh, that's gotta feel terrible. That's gotta feel just terrible." He kind of sets the stage for more putting problems later.
Yeah.
What does that initial miss tell you about putting's mental side?
Well, it immediately highlights that classic golf truth, right? You can be the best ball striker in the world, but if your short game is off...
It all falls apart.
Exactly. Putting is arguably the most mental part of golf. It's fine motor skills under intense pressure. Tiny errors get magnified. And the psychological hit from missing a short putt, that can absolutely ripple through your whole round. Shakes your confidence.
Yeah, you start doubting everything.
It shows how a small technical slip, or maybe just overthinking it for a second, can be really damaging.
So true. And the second hole's putt really shows that. It was a downhill birdie putt. The commentator notes, looks pretty simple, but it's going to be downhill towards the end, and he expected it to break right.
Oh, yeah, reading the green?
And guess what?
Yep.
It broke right away, went past the hole, ended up longer than he wanted. A simple read, you think, but gravity, the slope, a tiny misjudgment, and the whole thing goes wrong.
The speed is just as crucial as the line on downhill putts. Easy to misjudge.
And it wasn't just birdie putts he struggled with. There were missed par putts, too. After one birdie attempt, the par putt missed it wasn't short, so maybe pushed or pulled. Another time, an easy par putt was just a no chance for a birdie, implying the approach shot wasn't close enough.
Right.
Missing those par putts, those are the ones that really sting. They should be routine, but they add strokes, build that quiet frustration.
Those putting struggles really underscore the incredibly fine margins in golf. A slight misread of the break, how the ball curves on the slope, or just a fraction too much pace or too little, and your birdie becomes a par, or worse, a bogey, 1 over par.
Kills your momentum.
And it's not always a huge lack of skill. Sometimes it's just the green being tricky or the mental fortitude needed to execute perfectly under pressure, especially when you know you should make it.
Yeah, that expectation.
And when those little misses pile up, it can really crush a player's confidence and balloon the score. It's that negative feedback loop.
And then there's the putter itself. The infamous Scotty Cameron putter.
Ah, yes, the equipment factor.
The commentator specifically mentions the $500 Scotty Cameron putter. And there's this touch of irony, maybe extra frustration because of it.
Right, the expensive tool isn't helping.
Exactly. And the commentator has this repeated, almost desperate refrain. Sure, everybody's short. You can just feel the agony, the disappointment is shared. So disappointing because he was right. Like, Hiroki read the line correctly, but just didn't hit it hard enough. A collective groan.
That's such a classic golf lament, leaving putts short.
And it keeps happening. Another birdie putt commentator says it was not putted in the right direction. He hit it off the face, meaning poor contact, more disappointed reactions.
Ouch.
On another hole, the first putt is short,
Right.
leads to a second putt just to save par. It really feels like the greens were a total mystery to Hiroki on this day. Shows that even the best gear can't save you from a lapse in judgment or confidence.
That whole sequence, especially highlighting the expensive putter, it just drives home the point. Equipment doesn't make the golfer.
Nope.
No matter how fancy the putter, it can't fix execution errors or mental mistakes. That short thing is so common. Under pressure, golfers often get tentative, they decelerate, they leave it short. Fear of going long, maybe.
Could be fear of the three-putt.
Exactly. It shows that critical mix, technique, reading the conditions, and the mental game. Especially the fear, the doubt. It's a perfect example of how the mind can sabotage the body, especially when you feel the weight of expectation.
It wasn't just the putting, though. Hiroki also had his share of trouble just navigating the course. Obstacles, unforced errors.
The full golfing experience.
Pretty much. On hole 3, remember that 8-iron shot that went towards the tree? It bounced up, luckily landed just off to the left. Not disastrous, but still, an uncontrolled bounce forces a change of plan.
Right, introduces uncertainty.
Then there was the downhill lie. He had 133 yards. He hit an 8-iron, which the commentator notes is usually his 150 club.
Okay, so he clubbed down, maybe accounting for the downhill.
Maybe. But it didn't work. He caught some dirt, hit the ground first, a fat shot, and it came up short. The commentator realizes he probably needed to go with the 6-iron.
Misjudged the effect of the slope.
Yeah. Just a small miscalculation in club selection, maybe underestimating how much the downhill lie would affect contact, and boom, the shot's no good.
Those moments really highlight how vital precise club selection is, and accounting for subtle things like the lie of the ball. A downhill lie, it effectively de-lofts the club, right? Makes it easier to hit it fat, hit the ground first,
Right.
and the ball comes out lower, often shorter. It's a common trap, even for good players. Shows how one little misjudgment about the conditions can wreck the shot. Golf is constant calculation, and sometimes you just get it wrong.
And then came the real trouble signs.
Yeah.
Provisional shots out of bounds.
Yeah, that's when the alarm bells start ringing.
There's one drive where he's just pulling it left. The commentator worries it might reach the dam. So Hiroki has to hit a provisional. But what's striking is the first provisional also pulled even further left.
Oh, no. The dreaded double cross or just a repeating flaw.
Yeah. Shows that momentary, almost baffling loss of control that every golfer has experienced. One bad shot breeds another.
The spiral.
And another time, he needs a provisional after catching a little bit of bush and then more bush, partly because of that stiff headwind we mentioned earlier.
Right, the wind complicating things.
Totally. It just makes an already hard game 10 times harder, turns a decent swing into a fight just to keep the ball on the property.
That whole sequence, needing provisionals, especially pulling multiple shots left, it points to a breakdown in consistency. Maybe the wind made it worse, sure, but it could also be confidence wavering.
Yeah.
Pulling it left repeatedly suggests a swing flaw, maybe coming over the top, or setup issues that just gets magnified under pressure or in tough conditions. And needing multiple provisionals, that's brutal. Adds penalty strokes, obviously, but it's also incredibly demoralizing, can really mess with your head for the next shot. It's a clear picture of how one mistake can snowball.
And that snowballing leads us to maybe the most critical moment, what we're calling the too much pressure moment.
Okay.
The commentator directly blames pressure for a disastrous shot. Says Hiroki overhit it, oversliced it right into out of bounds.
The dreaded slice OB, that hurts.
Yeah, a slice is that big curve left to right for a righty, often way off target. And the commentary here is just, wow, so direct, so vivid. The commentator says, I put too much pressure on. Too much pressure. He melted like a candle under the pressure.
Melted like a candle. That's a powerful image.
Isn't it? Just paints this picture of a complete psychological collapse. And that shot, it ends up in the other fairway, maybe even in the water. It's a total unraveling, purely attributed to the mental weight.
That is just textbook golf psychology right there. The mental game taking over. And the commentator even blaming himself. I put too much pressure on. That's insightful. External expectations, whether they're real or perceived, they can become internal pressure, and boom, performance suffers. That melting like a candle analogy, perfect. Captures that dramatic loss of composure. Technique just goes out the window when a player buckles mentally.
Right.
It really underscores why golf has this reputation. Mental strength is often just as important, maybe more important than the physical skill. The smallest mental wobble can cause a total breakdown in a swing you've practiced thousands of times. It's not just the swing, it's the mind controlling it.
Beyond the big pressure moments, there were also just simple contact errors. Like there's a shot described as 56-105 red flag, no obstructions.
Okay, so a 56-degree wedge, 105 yards, clear shot to the flag. Should be straightforward.
Should be. But he made contact with the ground first, got so under that. Just a frustrating mishit. Suggests maybe a little lapse in focus, timing off, club digs in before the ball.
The chunk shot happens to everyone.
Then there's the river hazard. He hits his very nice, very long drive, but it just slides ever so slightly into the river. Inches. A matter of inches turns a great shot into a penalty.
Agonizing. The fine line between success and failure.
And finally, approaching an elevated green guarded by bunkers on both the right and the left, his shot is just described as terrible. Why? Because Hiroki looked up.
Ah, the classic amateur move, lifting your head too soon.
Exactly. Leads to bad contact, ball often goes short or way offline. Even skilled players do it sometimes when they're anxious or unfocused.
Those examples really show how unforgiving golf is. Minor flaws, tiny lapses, huge consequences. Hitting the ground first, looking up, often signs of rushing, maybe losing balance or focus just for a split second.
Yeah.
And the river shot shows that even great power means nothing without that pinpoint precision. And looking up on the elevated green, pure mental error, trying to see the result before finishing the swing, each one reinforces that golf demands meticulous execution and constant focus, no letting up.
And the round ends, or nears the end, with this truly wild, disorienting drive on hole 17. He drives from the 17th tee onto the 6th green.
Wow. Onto a completely different hole.
Yeah. Imagine hitting it that far offline, and the provisional wasn't much better, landing by the dam at the far corner by that palmetto bush.
So completely lost direction there at the end.
It just shows how chaotic a round can get, even for someone clearly talented. The unpredictable nature of the game, the course, sometimes even the best players just completely lose the plot for a hole or two.
That final sequence, hitting the wrong green, the provisional also going wild. It kind of sums up the whole spectrum of struggle, doesn't it? A major directional mistake, then you can't recover effectively.
Yeah.
It shows how fast a round can unravel, even for someone who hit those freaking unbelievable shots earlier. It brings it home. Golf is about consistent control, mental toughness. Every shot is a new chance to succeed or a new chance to mess up. That human element, the brilliance and the breakdown, it's always there. A powerful reminder that perfection in golf, it's fleeting. Just sustaining decent performance is a constant battle.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked a lot about Hiroki's performance, the shots themselves.
Yeah.
But now let's really focus on the narrator, the commentator.
Yeah.
Because their unique, really vibrant style isn't just describing the game.
No, it's shaping it.
Exactly. It's shaping our whole experience. This wasn't just play-by-play. It felt like a performance in its own right.
Yeah.
What's the first thing that jumps out at you about this commentary style?
For me, it's how the commentator acts as this emotional amplifier.
Ooh, good way to put it.
Their language isn't just descriptive, it's loaded. It's designed to make us feel what they're feeling, the excitement, the frustration.
Yeah.
That hyperbolic language, it elevates the stakes, makes the great shots feel legendary, and the bad shots feel agonizingly relatable. It's vital for creating a compelling story out of what could just be, technical actions.
Turns facts into feelings.
Precisely. They transform it into a felt experience.
They really do.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just unfreaking unbelievable, though that was the signature. You hear, wow, 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 beautiful, fantastic, oh my gosh, sprinkled throughout. Just constant, infectious energy. But like you said, the emotional range was huge. From nice shot, good job when things were good, to that really empathetic, that's got to feel terrible, or so disappointing when Hiroki struggled.
Right.
The commentary mirrored the feeling of each shot perfectly. You're not just hearing about a game, you're riding the emotional wave with the commentator. It makes you feel like you're right there.
And that range is so key to why it works. They're not detached, they're deeply invested emotionally.
Totally.
By voicing those immediate feelings, they invite us, the listeners, to share in Hiroki's wins and losses. It creates a much deeper, more immersive connection than just getting the facts. It's about building empathy through shared emotion, moment by moment. It's brilliant narrative voice work, really. Humanizes the whole thing.
Which leads right into how they handled pressure.
Yeah.
The commentary on pressure became this major recurring theme, almost unavoidable.
Yeah, it was central.
The repeated analysis, blaming too much pressure for mistakes, especially after that slice out of bounds, that was striking. And the commentator even taking partial blame. I put too much pressure on.
That was fascinating. Self-implication.
Yeah. And then there's that ironic no pressure right before a crucial putt. Given everything else, it feels less like encouragement and more like tempting fate.
Or acknowledging the elephant in the room.
Maybe. And that analogy, he melted like a candle under the pressure. So theatrical. Turns a golf shot into this moment of intense psychological drama.
It really does. That consistent focus on pressure elevates the round beyond just sport into, like you said, a psychological drama. The commentator isn't just saying what happened, they're interpreting why, attributing outcomes to mental states, emotional loads, and by even suggesting they contributed to the pressure. It highlights those complex, often invisible psychological forces in high-stakes situations. It shows how external commentary can actually become an internal factor for the player. This whole pressure narrative makes us consider not just the swing, but the whole mental landscape. It reveals the immense mental strength needed to succeed or even to survive in competitive sports.
Beyond all the emotion, the commentary was also incredibly rich with detail. The detailed play-by-play was impressive.
They knew their stuff.
Absolutely committed to describing everything. Specific clubs, 8-iron, 6-iron, 7-iron, 5-wood, 56-degree wedge. You hear the thinking behind the club choice.
Gives you context.
And yardages. 160 club, 133, 170, 105, 163, 200. Plus, crucial details about the conditions. Tailwind, stiff headwind, 5 to 7 knots, gusting to 10, crosswind right to left.
Right.
It's not just facts for facts' sake. It pulls you into the strategic decision-making Hiroki face on every single shot.
Yeah, you appreciate the complexity more.
And the course features come alive. Trees, branches, hillside slope, bridge, river, sand trap, dam, that specific palmetto bush. You almost feel like you're walking the course with them.
That level of detail, club selection, yardages, wind, terrain, it's crucial for immersion. It lets you, the listener, visualize the scene, even if you're not there. Understand the actual challenge of each shot.
Yeah.
It's not just painting a picture. It's giving you the data to appreciate the complexity, the precision required. It shows the commentator is both emotionally invested and technically knowledgeable. That combination elevates the experience beyond just entertainment. It's genuinely informative.
Yes. And the visual descriptions were so vivid. Like that line, see the pin is actually just on the right side, that you can see its flag is hidden by the branches on the tree, puts you right there peering through the leaves.
Creates a strong mental image.
The commentator also did a great job engaging the imagined audience.
Yeah.
Asking direct questions. Do you see that? Or what do you think about that?
Pulling you in.
Exactly. Referring to how everybody stops and turns and listens for a birdie putt creates this tangible sense of shared tension, like you're in the gallery. And that collective, everybody short moment with the putting makes you feel like part of the frustrated crowd, a shared groan.
That direct engagement is really effective. It shifts listening from passive to active, posing questions, referencing everybody. It creates this feeling of shared presence, shared experience.
Right, like a community watching together.
Exactly. It's a powerful narrative trick. Makes you feel like you're at the game, right there with the commentator, feeling the tension. It's masterful storytelling, creating intimacy, even with a potentially large audience.
And finally, those quirky asides and humor.
Yeah.
They add such a great human touch, breaking the intensity, reminding you this is real, unscripted.
Yeah, those little moments are gold.
My favorite has to be Hydrate or Die, Steve. Just pops out of nowhere, so unexpected, gives you a glimpse of their casual dynamic.
Yeah, that's great.
There's also the commentator being self-deprecating, saying, first time I beat you, Nice try,
Yeah.
hinting at some friendly rivalry.
Mm.
And the odd descriptions. Hiroki's kissing the knees, practice swing, what a strange, funny visual, or trying to pass up, trying to get past Manigus, suggesting maybe another player or a personal goal.
Adds layers.
And just the casual maintenance man, it's okay when a groundskeeper shows up. These little bits break the tension, show personality, and make the whole thing incredibly entertaining and just relatable.
That mix of high-stakes description and casual, quirky humor is precisely what makes it work so well. Those asides are vital. They offer levity, reveal the commentator's personality, stop it from getting too dry or intense.
Yeah.
They also reinforce the authenticity. Reminds you this is a real-time, unscripted account of friends playing golf. The commentator isn't just narrating, they're sharing their experience, warts and all. Makes it deeply relatable. It turns simple play-by-play into a memorable story. Shows that even in intense moments, the human stuff, the quirks, the shared laughs, they're always there.
Okay, so after this really deep dive into Hiroki's round, pulling it all together,
Yeah.
what are the big lessons, the main insights we can take away from this unfathomable game?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first, it clearly shows the spectrum of performance, right? Even someone incredibly skilled like Hiroki has this huge range within one round.
Absolutely.
It wasn't
Sure.
perfect golf, not by a long shot. But you saw moments of pure brilliance right alongside moments of real struggle. It reminds you perfection is just
Yeah.
rare. Even for really good players, golf is always a challenge.
And that brings up a key point, I think. True mastery isn't about being flawless all the time. It's about maintaining a high average performance level, navigating those inevitable highs and lows.
Right, managing the dips.
Exactly. And the narrative, the commentary, it amplifies how we perceive those moments, turning simple shots into drama. That spectrum of performance, it's universal in any complex skill. It teaches us expertise isn't about never failing, but about managing the troughs that come between the peaks. Consistency is the real battle, and resilience is key.
Absolutely. Second big takeaway, that profound interplay of skill and environment. Hiroki's successes often came from using the course, drawing the ball over a tree, hitting that slope perfectly.
Right.
Precise execution, working with the environment.
Right. Leveraging it.
But his challenges came just as often from misjudging the environment. The wind, the downhill lie, the trees, or from just basic contact errors. It's this constant push and pull between your skill and what the course throws at you.
That's critical because it moves beyond just blaming or crediting the individual alone. Performance is always this dynamic dance between the person and their surroundings.
Yeah.
Hiroki's ability to adapt, even exploit the course features sometimes, versus the times when those same things overwhelmed him. It shows how nuanced skill application is. Mastery isn't just perfect execution in a vacuum. It's reading, interpreting, adapting to ever-changing conditions, turning obstacles into opportunities, or letting them become roadblocks.
And maybe the most significant theme throughout, the crucial role of the mental game.
Undeniably.
Hearing the commentator directly blame too much pressure for errors, that was stark. Remembering Hiroki melted like a candle.
Yeah.
Just a powerful image of psychological breakdown. But we also saw hints of his preparation, his focus. Checking foot alignment, that visible concentration before a shot. The mental game is clearly just as vital as the physical swing. One can absolutely sabotage the other.
And it raises that big question, doesn't it? How much is physical? How much is mental? This deep dive strongly suggests that even with huge talent, mental toughness under pressure is often the decider.
Yeah.
Melting under pressure shows how a loss of composure directly leads to a loss of technique, no matter how skilled you are fundamentally.
Yeah.
Understanding that interplay is vital, not just in sports, but any high-stakes field. Expertise involves recovery, adaptation, performing under scrutiny, managing your own expectations. It's about holding it together when it matters.
And finally, just simple resilience and persistence.
Yeah, gotta have it.
Despite all the screw-ups, the missed putts, the OB shots, landing on the wrong green, the provisionals, Hiroki just kept going, kept swinging, kept trying, kept playing. He didn't pack it in. It's a really powerful glimpse into the perseverance you need, not just in golf, but in anything hard, where success isn't guaranteed and setbacks are part of the deal. It's a lesson in grit right there on the fairway.
Indeed. And that resilience might be the most profound takeaway. True mastery isn't just hitting the perfect shot, it's how you react to the imperfect ones.
Right, the recovery.
Exactly. Bouncing back from frustration, recalibrating after a mistake, staying focused even when things go wrong. That defines high performers everywhere. Ultimately, understanding something deeply, like this round of golf, isn't just about the stats or the highlights. It's appreciating the context, the challenges, and that human element, the triumphs and the struggles that make it truly, well, unfathomable and deeply engaging. It's the whole story, not just the final score.
And with that, our deep dive into Hiroki Ino's unfathomable golf game in OC comes to a close. Thank you so much for joining us on this pretty wild and insightful ride through the greens, the fairways, and the whole emotional landscape of one very unique round of golf.
So as you think about this deep dive, consider this. What does exploring a single golf round like this tell you about the nature of performance when you're under pressure? Or maybe when someone is narrating your every move, like our commentator did. How might understanding this interplay between skill, the environment around you, and the story being told influence how you approach your own challenges? Or maybe just how you interpret the unfathomable achievements and struggles of other people you watch or read about?